Good morning. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I was so busy this morning trying to work out what I could do in terms of classes and things that I forgot what the time was. And suddenly I've been rushing around and here I am. So here we are for this morning's live. So hopefully there'll be one or two of you joining us live this morning. If you're joining us live, do come on and say hello. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. But even if you're joining us at a later date, still say hello. Let me know that you've been here. Be lovely to hear from you. So, crafting with the Ornate Garden suite. That's where we were yesterday, and that's where we're going to carry on today. So yesterday we created these two cards. So this one here, where we stamped and coloured in those flowers, and this one with all the beautiful frames. And if you remember, when I was die cutting this frame here, one edge didn't quite cut properly, so I didn't want to waste that. So this is a third card that I made yesterday, where I've just chopped that end off and just used it as sort of like a big banner rather than a complete frame, and stamped the background. So that was another card that I made yesterday. And then also happy Tuesday to you too, Valerie. And also yesterday I was putting up my post for the International Blog Highlights Winners blog. That's not easy to say, is it? So I was creating a card for that. So again, I've used one of these frames. I've used other things in there as well, but that was one of those frames, and they really are beautiful, and I think they are going to be used an awful lot because it just makes that card pop. So those are the ones we've made so far. And luckily I had thoughts about what I was going to do today. Otherwise, we really would be winging it. I mean, normally I have some vague notion of where I'm going. And one of the things I do need is I need a sponge roller. So let me get out a sponge and let me swap out one of these. I don't know whether you've got any of these, but these sponge rollers, I'm just going to take that one off of the handle and put that one on. And then you can wash these and all sorts of things. So they are really good. And the handles come with, is it 3 sponges? 2 sponges? I can't remember, but you get a couple of sponges. Hi Beryl. Thank you for sharing, Angie. Yeah, if you do share out, that's fabulous. So that other people can join us, that all helps. It helps me get my name out there. And particularly in these times, anything to share. Right, okay, so what are we going to do today? So I promised that we would use some of the papers today, and I've also got another little technique. So let's start off with the papers. So I'm going to put my sponge roller to one side. It's good evening for you, Angie. It is indeed. It's a bright, shiny morning here at the moment, although there are some very big black clouds over there, so I have a feeling bright shiny is not going to stay. Right, so we have these lovely papers, as all our designer series papers. They're double-sided, and these have got foiling on some of the sheets on one side. So lovely big floral prints, some smaller floral prints, a lot of them looking like lovely little cotton prints almost. They're really lovely. There's the foiling, there's that little yellow flower with the big flowers on the back. This one is old olive foiled with this smaller print on the back. Big daisies. And this has got the sort of calypso coral and terracotta tile on the back. So really pretty. Haven't quite decided which of those papers we're going to use, but we'll decide on the hoof, I think. So I have grabbed out some coloured cardstock that coordinates with that. So according to the pack, we know that there is terracotta tile, which is stick to the back there. Terracotta tile. We know that there's old olive. We know there's early espresso. We know that there's mint macaron. And then there's this bumblebee colour, and which obviously we haven't got yet because that's going to be in the new catalogue. I think there is some So Saffron in there. When I look at some of these prints, like that one, that very much looks So Saffron. So I have picked out a So Saffron as well to give me a sort of range of colours to play with, and obviously some Whisper White. I've got some thick Whisper White there, and I've got some thin Whisper White there. But I think we'll start by making a card base, and I'm going to go Early Espresso. I like Early Espresso. It's not a colour that I use ever such a lot. And I'm going to make a side opening card. So for this one, I need to cut it at 10.5 centimetres to give me a long strip. So still cutting my A4 in half, but I'm cutting it long way so I get a long strip rather than a sort of shorter, fatter strip. And then I'm going to bring in, I'm going to bring my old trimmer because my school board won't help me with that one. And I'm going to score it at 14.9. Just there. And then that will give me a side opening C6 card. Oh, excellent. So there we are. So we've still got that same size, that same 10.5 by 14.9, and we've got it opening this way. And I like these side opening cards because they stand better on the mantelpiece because they've got that sort of more solid base rather than standing that way where they could possibly slip. So there's our card base. Now what I'm going to do with this card base is I'm actually going to pop my card base in here, and I'm going to chop off this end 7 centimetres. Oops, just like that. So now I've got a card base that looks like this, and a bit that looks like this, and this bit is going to sit on the top like that. So we're going to do one of these shaped cards. But that gives us a nice opportunity to bring in some different colours. Now, what paper shall we go with? I think when I was looking quite nice just now, I'm thinking I'm going to go with this one. So it's not one of the foiled ones, but it's got the big bold print on the front that would look quite nice here. And then this more subtle print that we could have in the background and possibly even going on inside as well. We'll see. Or we could bring in a third one for the inside. Let's think. Oh, now I'm thinking, you see, if I want a third one, which one am I going to have? Might do that one. Yep, that would be quite pretty. Now I'm thinking, do I want another card mat on there? And if so, what colour? I think we're going to go with So Saffron. Let's see. This is the playing about while we think about it option. Right, okay, so I'm going to pop that paper there so I don't lose it. And we'll cut some mats out of this So Saffron card stock. So let's move the rest of this paper out of the way for now. So we know that this is 10, and this back bit is going to be 14.4 by 10, which is a standard. Standard mat. Then if I cut this by 10 as well, Our front panel was 7 centimetres, so we'll cut that to 6.5, so half a centimetre smaller. So this one would have been 7.9, so if we make that 7.4, there we go. So we've got our mats. Let's cut some of this designer series paper. So I'm thinking this one for that one. So 7.4 minus 0.5 is 6.9. I don't think it matters which way this paper goes. So we'll have 6.9 strip off of there. And what's to be 9.5 centimetres this way. Really pretty. And then we want one piece of this. Again, I'm not sure that it matters particularly which way round it goes. I'm going to cut it at 13. I cut a long strip at 13.9 like that. I'm going to cut one panel at 9.5. So that will be that background piece. And then, morning Lisa. And then we need a piece on here, and that's going to be 9.5 by 6. So I'm going to cut that 6 and 9.5. That looks much too small, but it actually isn't. There we are, and then that can go on there as our bold print. We'll bring in some old olive ribbon because we've got some old olive in there already. It's amazing, isn't it? Just a bit of paper and suddenly wham, you've got something good going on. Let's have a look. We ought to have some of our dye, one of our dyes in there. Oh, that reminds me, one of my dyes has not come back into my packet. I think it must be buried under this my pile of cards just here. I think actually I'm not going to go with one of the big dyes because it's going to completely bury our paper, and we don't want to completely bury our paper. So let's perhaps instead I'm going to come back in with some early espresso. I'm not going to need a whole panel, just part of a panel. I'm just going to die cut that strip just there with some early espresso cardstock. Got all sorts of things going on in the background here waiting to use for the next project. Let's move all of those out of the way. Just cut a strip of card so I can fit it through my machine. I'm just going to do partial border because I'm just going to pinch some of the flowers out of that. Let's have a look. We might also do some of the little flowers. We'll see how we go. So Here we have a border, and you can see the detail on that. It's really pretty. I think if I get my snips and if I snip round this flower here and round this flower here, we've got a nice little bit of a border going on just there. We'll have some ribbon coming around here, and I think we will have, even put that over the top of the ribbon, and I think we're just going to have a punch with a little greeting on for that one. And just going to use the greeting that says "from all of us," because that could be used for all sorts of occasions. From all of us. Yes. Now then, does that fit in the classic label? Not quite. Just a smidge too long, but never mind. We'll just do it on a little piece of Whisper White. Let's use some early espresso ink. Take my big scissors, trim that. Right, let's put this together. Now let's start with these base pieces. Oh, the sun's really quite warm standing here in the window. I'm not complaining. I'm sure if I was to go outside it wouldn't be quite so warm. Right, going to put sticky stuff on that pretty flowery paper. But that's because we want the pretty flowery paper on the other side on this occasion. And then our front mats. So saffron. And then again we're going to cover up this pretty paper. It is very pretty, but I think it might have shouted at the paper on the front. We've left the front for the really bold paper. And we'll put our paper on. Then we will wrap some ribbon round. It's got a lovely vibrancy to the colour in this ribbon. I'll try a knot in it. I'll perhaps come back to that in a minute and decide whether I want to make it a bow or a knot, but I need you to stick that down before I stick this on top. So we'll then stick this down on the top there. Glue on the main bits and just a few little dots elsewhere so that it anchors down. Do I want a bow or do I want a knot? Let's try a bow. We can always undo it and go back to knotting. Only left myself a tiny bit of ribbon. Twiddle with my ribbon. Actually, I think a knot is better. I think the bow's too fussy, so let's trim that and leave it as a knot. Yep, that's better. A knot, not a ribbon. I'm going to pop some dimensionals underneath this side to raise that side up a little bit, but obviously I only want to stick them that side, because if I stick them the other side, they will stick to the card, which then it won't open. Take the backings off there. And then we've just got our little greeting. I think down there, and I'm going to stick that directly down, I think. From all of us. So one thing that we could add into there, I think we should add into there, is some of those gilded gems. So let me just dig about and find those. We can have a medium one there and a little one in there. A bow maker. I have got a bow maker. My bow maker, I've got a little wooden one with little pegs on that I had from eBay years and years ago. I would imagine that it's, my children laugh at me because I sell this same thing all the time. I repeat to myself. I would imagine that it was somebody's husband, that somewhere there was a crafty wife who'd sent her husband off to the shed to make bow makers. And he did such a good job of it that he started making them for all her friends. I may be completely wrong, but I've just got this vision, because my little bow maker came with a wooden bow. I'm just digging about to see if I can find it. Come out. It's in my box that I take out for classes, and of course obviously that's all tucked away. can't get hold of the other bit. So if you've got a you know, DIY somebody in the household or family. So mine is just a little box, a little bit of wood like this, with holes in the end, and I've got 2 bigger pieces of dowling that do actually stick in there, tuck out of the way, and then I've got some tiny ones, but I've not left them in there. I've put them in my box somewhere else, and literally just you can put your dowling in wherever to make your different size bows. And I have to say it's brilliant, but it cost me next to nothing, and I got a metre of ribbon with it, and I've since ordered others for other people. But yeah, I think that probably, and I think Valerie possibly, yeah, that's it, Angie, yeah, made it yourself. It doesn't need to be anything complicated. Yeah, if you've got somebody that can make you the holes in a bit of wood, that's all you need. So yeah, don't go spending a fortune on a bow maker. I haven't got anybody DIY in the house that would have made one of those for me, but I was quite happy to spend, I think it cost me about £2, something really ridiculous. As I say, I got a metre of ribbon with it. So there we go. There's some of those pretty patterned papers, and that lovely floral die cut. We didn't use some of them, not the edges yesterday, we didn't use that one, so that's using some different things. So that's a different card again, this time with papers. Let me tuck my little flower dies away because we didn't use those on that occasion. We might do in a bit, you never know. Right, the next card I've got equipment with me. I've got my iron. Panic not, it is only a little encaustic art iron. We don't want to start doing anything like ironing, goodness me. That's it. So my little encaustic iron I will plug in. Now this is a technique that I've done a few times, but I do like it, so we're going to do it again. So apologies if you've seen me do this one time too many, but I wanted to see what this embossing folder came out like. So I've plugged that iron in. Now what I must do is try not to put my arm on it. I'm going to rest it on the corner of my laptop. And then I'm going to cut myself a piece of Whisper White card. Now actually one of the best cards to do this is on glossy cardstock. And it was so lovely when we had our glossy cardstock. Unfortunately we no longer do glossy cardstock, which is a shame because I liked glossy cardstock. Right, let's cut this. Having a bit of a paddy now. Okay, we're going to cut this. Lisa's intrigued, good. She's not going, oh, I know what she's going to do. Not again. I'm going to cut this 13.9 by 9.5 centimetres. So that will be our panel. I've got my terracotta tile ink here. I've got that nice sponge brayer that I got out that I think we can use with terracotta ink. Let's find our embossing folder. Just here. I'm also going to need my blue plate, so excuse me while I scrabble around and find my blue plate, because we shall want that for embossing. Now the other thing I have got here is wax paper. I know the last time I did this people were intrigued, particularly if anybody is joining us from the States, because if you're joining us from the States you can go into your supermarket. I don't know, you can just go into your supermarket at the moment, but when you can just go into your supermarket, you can go into your supermarket and get this off the shelf because you use it every day. You've probably got some in your kitchen. I don't know about elsewhere in the world. Here in the UK we don't use it. It's not found on our supermarket shelves. The only way we can get this is through our craft shops or via Amazon, which is indeed where this came from. So if we want to use wax paper, we have to order it. Strange, I know. It's not the only thing that you use in your kitchen. They use in the kitchens in the US and things that we have to go and buy especially. What was the other one with the it's not cling wrap, is it? What's it called? The sticky wrap stuff that we've all been using to make the raised cards. We have to buy that. We can't get that in the shops either. We have to get that from craft short stores and Amazon. Right, so we've got a piece of wax paper here. So if you are desperate to try this and you don't have any wax paper, go and eat up a box of cereal, and quite often the cereal is in wax paper in the box. That's where we tend to see it here, but we don't get it just on the supermarket shelves. Right, I'm going to put my wax paper in my embossing folder and I'm going to press and seal. Thank you, that's the stuff. So yeah, so wax paper is like press and seal. We have to order it through Amazon. Yeah, not cheap either, because obviously we don't use it here. So but wax paper in the embossing folder, run it through the machine just as we normally would. Oh, taking a bit of card with me as well. Now, I don't know what this is going to turn out like. This is an experiment. I've not tried this with this particular embossing folder before. So what we then get is an embossed piece of wax paper, obviously, but obviously it is wax. So what we're then going to do is I'm going to turn it down and lay it on my piece of card like this. I've got a piece of just baking paper here just to lay over the top of it, and you know, you could use anything. That could be scrap paper. It's only because I don't really want to get melted wax all over the iron, although it is an encaustic iron, but if you're doing this with your normal household iron, you really don't want to get it all over. And then I'm just going to iron it, because what I'm doing is melting the wax on the wax paper. And so I don't want it to be too mad. I don't know whether I've done that enough, but hopefully I can see. I don't know whether you can see. There's like little wax dots on there. I may not have done it quite enough. We'll see, because you don't want to do it too much, because you don't want it to splurge everywhere. Ooh, got a sticky mark. So now we've melted our wax onto our card, we're going to ink up our sponge brayer. And this is where we'll see if I did it enough. I may not have done. There is a very slight background, and obviously this is where glossy card is better, because oh no, we're coming, because the colour moves around the card a bit better. And you don't get splodgy marks in the middle like we have there. Backwards and forwards. Yes, I'm sure you can. Yes, melt it with your heat tool. So the nice thing about the iron is that you're applying a bit of pressure at the same time. Ooh, that's quite pretty. And obviously you just keep adding ink with your sponge brayer until you're happy with the result. There you go. You get really pretty. So it is just, it's, you know, resist another resist method, just as if you'd done embossing on it, but you've just done the wax instead, and it's got a nice sheen to it as well. That's with the wax, isn't it? Yeah, wax paper to melt a stamped image into a candle. Yeah, stamped on a bit of tissue paper. Yeah, I've done that. I've got a few of those around somewhere. I don't know if I've got any to hand. But yes, I've done that too. So yes, wax paper is really useful. I've used it in the past in dyes as well, to help release dyes from... obviously, having used this, you can't then use it again. Because you've already melted the wax. It's quite pretty though. You might want to use it as a layer on something. It is a really lovely technique. You want an embossing folder that's got, and that's why I looked at this one and thought, oh, I know what I'm going to do with that. The fact that it's got a nice all over pattern on it, that's the sort you get the best results with. But have a play with all of your embossing folders. Have a go at that. But that's good fun. All different colours. Yep, use it as a background, and that's what we're going to do. So let's decide. I think I'm going to put some early espresso in there. I'm probably going to use a white card base, but I think I'm going to cut this down as a mat. So 14.4 by 10. It's really pretty, isn't it? Let's get back to our frames, but I think I do want... I'm just looking to see if I've got a bigger piece of early espresso to hand. No, let me go and grab another bit. Apologies if the phone wobbles while I wander off. And fetch my bag of bits of early espresso. If you saw my blog post the other day that took you around my craft room, my no way is it sort of all posh with all these different... I haven't got IKEA units and all of those sorts of things. It is a... oh, so I'm looking for my different plates back for my big shot. I'd put them in my basket. I'd put them neatly away. No wonder I couldn't find them. Right, I'm going to cut one of these bigger frames out of early espresso, because I think it needs to be quite a strong colour, because we've got such a big base of terracotta tile in there. Just looking at my finger and hoping that it's a terracotta tile ink and that I haven't just cut myself. I think it's terracotta tile ink. Either that, I need to phone for first aid support. No, I think it's terracotta tile ink. So these really intricate dies do need a bit of extra love. They do want running through a couple of times and turning round. Could have perhaps got out my precision base plate, but right, let's... So yes, if you think I've cut my finger, I haven't. It is terracotta tile ink. Right, let me get my pointy end of my and just pop out those last little bits. They're very beautiful. Worth the extra little bit of work you have to put in. You can't get intricate dies like this without having to put a little bit of work in. These little curly bits always hang on in there, don't they, a bit longer than the other bits. And I think those are the last two little bits to come out. Yes, beautiful. So I've got a lovely background there with that that embossed resist. We've got a beautiful frame. I think we're going to come in, stitch rectangles again. These are fabulous alongside this because they fit so neatly in there. I'm sure that that is a design feature. That's the one that's going to fit beautifully in there. So let's cut out a stitched rectangle. Going to fit beautifully in there. So onto that I'm going to stamp this lovely single daisy just here, and I think we will stamp it in Early Espresso, as that's our colours that we've got going on. Don't see any point in bringing in another colour at this point. Lovely. Now I think I might also take this little corner stamp. This is the swirly corner stamp. I'll have one swirl there, and one swirl there. And then we'll take our terracotta tile ink. When I can see it, I've obviously put it safely to one side with the sponge brayer. Ah, there it is. And I think I'm going to take a blender pen. A bit like we did yesterday. I'm just going to colour the inside of this flower just with ink and a blender pen. And as I say, we might get some of this Early Espresso sort of bleed into it as well, but that's not a biggie. Sort of adds a sense of shading to it actually. going to put a little bit of colour in the middle there. I'm going to cover that with one of the big gems. And then we'll take out the espresso, I think, and do the leaf. I'm thinking I'm going to we'll just do a bit of splattering, I think, with the early espresso, just to fill in that background a little bit with something. I'm going to take the, I've got a tile ribbon. Yes, you can use it. Hi Susan, lovely to have you join us. How are things for you, Susan, in New York? You know, I don't think you're having a very fun time, are you? I'm just doing a little bow for this one. I think I might make it smaller still. But you can with this ribbon. That's what, it's such a lovely ribbon to use. Very well tempered. I'm going to put that on there in just a minute. Right, okay. So let's get a piece of thick Whisper White and make a card base for that. So just half a piece of cardstock, just a standard card base. For wherever you are, whatever that looks like. Because you can tweak your mats accordingly. Oh, Susan, deep breath. Yeah, I think it's a very stressful time, isn't it? I think it is for everybody. I haven't left the house now since, I think last Wednesday was the last time I went out anywhere. So I've been to the bottom of the drive, but that's about it. Went next door because the parcel people had left my parcel in their porchway instead of leaving it with us. So she messaged me and I went and fetched it, but that's as far as I've been since last Wednesday. Right, that's starting to look quite nice, isn't it? Do I want to agree? I'm not going to put a sentiment on that one actually. I think it would be a step too far. We'll just leave it with whatever it is we will write inside. So let's build that up. Oh, Angie. I don't mind because I've got my craft room and things. My husband is going out to work still, as is my son. So they're in and out. Oh, I think the snails run out and I don't think I've got a refill. I need to do a top-up shop. But I'm sure like any of the rest of you that are demonstrators, particularly if you're like me, you work for Walmart. Yes, so my son works for the local supermarkets while he goes out doing the deliveries. So yeah, he's working. My husband works for the local council. He's dealing with some of the benefits and things that people are now able to get them to apply for. So he's working still, trying to support people in these uncertain times. Right, so there is our wax resist background using that embossing folder. Really pleased with that. I think that might happen again, don't you? Then we've got our lovely frame. But I should imagine working in the shops is very stressful. I hope you're not getting too much. I mean, here we've had a job to get hold of some things, and I think some of the shop workers have taken a bit of a battering from some people. People are just so unkind. It's almost as if it's their fault and they're deliberately hiding toilet rolls out the back. But things seem to be settling down a little bit now. People are beginning to realise that, you know, the food isn't going to run out. Everybody's doing their best. So hats off to you, Susan. Well done. You're doing a very valuable job, and I hope that you're getting some shout outs for doing that. There is the fear of catching things. I have to say here there has been quite a few shout outs for, you know, not only our healthcare workers but the postmen and the delivery men and the people that are still keeping us stocked with things. Our supermarkets now are very organised in terms of people in and out and those sorts of things. It's quite a calm experience going shopping. Glue dots, where are you? I saw you just now. Where have you gone? Oh, goodness me. I'm sure they're staring at me. I'll raid my class box for those as well. I've already raided it to show you bow makers. I'll put them back because in a minute. Oh look, they're here. They are literally under my nose. No wonder I can't find them. I knew I'd seen them. Right. Dear, oh dear. I'd like to blame it on the stress of the situation, but it is a fairly normal situation for me. Right, okay. Yes, do watch from the beginning. So this is wax paper as a wax resist, Susan. So it's a technique I do enjoy doing every now and then. Not done it for a little while, and this embossing folder shouted to it. Right, so 2 cards that we've made today. So this one with that lovely wax resist in the background, and just that single daisy. I love that single daisy image. Bit of splattering. One of those bows. This one very different. That's using all those papers. So this one and this one, that's the reverse of that one. And then this one was a different paper. So those just using some of those papers, some of that ribbon. Oh, we were going to put, see, I've missed something. I said I'll have a bit of colour in there, but then I'm going to put one of the large faceted dots in there, and I will indeed. I started off today, considering I was running late coming in, I was really quite organised, and then we've just gone completely to pot. The minute that I find my faceted gems, my gold gems, gilded gems, that's what they're called, isn't it? See, so new, I haven't got the lingo yet. Aha! The minute I find my gilded gems, we're going to put a big one in the middle of that daisy. Just like that. How fab are they? They really, really have got a lot of dimension in them. So two more cards. So we get quite the collection now. So if you are in any doubt that you want this Ornate Garden suite, those were the two cards for today. Embossing folders, papers, frames. This is the one that I used using that frame yesterday. This is the one that we used using the bit that went wrong yesterday, and these are the two that we did on our Facebook Live. So we're getting quite a little collection of cards. The ones that we've done on our lives have all sort of stayed within the colour palette of the papers, but we can also go completely off-piste, and we might have to go off-piste again. So I think we'll come back and we'll play with this suite again tomorrow. We might do something different towards the end of the week, but today is the last day of celebration. So for you in Australia, you must be getting into the counting down the final hours. For us here, it's the beginning of the day. You've got today. So today, you can, if you want to put in an order and get any of that lovely celebration stuff, then today's the last day that you can do it. If you want to add this suite into your starter kit, and remember the entire suite with 2 stamp sets, so that stamp set, the 2 lots of dies, so all those border dies, all those gorgeous frame dies, the papers, the gilded gems, the 2 lots of ribbon, that embossing folder, all of those things come in this suite, and they are all gorgeous. And if you get it before celebration ends tonight, I think you've got till about 11 o'clock, 10:59 UK time. If you get it and put it in your starter kit, you can have the whole kit and caboodle for £99, plus you can have a mini trimmer, plus you can have a 6x6, that 6x6 pack of paper, plus you can have a stamp set of your choice. Tomorrow it goes live to customers, so tomorrow you can order it, and it's £127.50 for the entire bundle, but then you can just buy, you know, one stamp set, a stamp set and die bundle, you know, whatever combination you want. And I will be having, there will be incentives, there will be special offers. I have got sitting in the background a couple of fabulous tutorial bundles. So there's one that you can get if you buy a stamp set and die bundle. So if you buy one of the bundles, you can get one of the tutorials. If you buy the entire suite, I will give you both tutorial bundles, and the big tutorial bundle has got 90 tutorials in for this suite. So it's like having a suite of products and a book full of tutorials to go with it. So yeah, lots of incentives to buy that. You can also buy the tutorials as well. So if you've already got the suite and want the tutorials, there will be details of those going up, but that's ready for tomorrow. So thank you for joining me today for creating these 2 cards. It's been fun, and I will see you again tomorrow.